I just went to the supermarket and I've unpacked and I'm gonna have to get changed completely, shower, but I thought before I do that, I'll just record my video. I noticed that I have a really big pimple on my chin, but I'm not gonna do anything to cover that up because this is my channel and I don't want my channel to be about perfection, so just gonna leave it as is. So this is the third week of being in lockdown, and like the past 2 weeks, it's been pretty tough. I think I've adjusted to it now. I'm enjoying working from home in some ways, but this past week has just not been the best, mainly because of really bad period cramps, and also my appetite has just been really low. Nothing has really appealed to me that much. I'm kind of bored of the food that we have at home. Just haven't really wanted to eat that much. I also know that getting into a calorie deficit, not eating is not an option, because no matter how that happens, it just leads to a relapse for me. So I've still been eating, and we've been getting the HelloFresh meal delivery service, which has been helpful. I mean, it just makes it easier having other people decide the meals, and then we just prepare them. And it's also quite a good challenge for my eating disorder because they send us meals that I might not choose, perhaps out of fear or with ingredients that I don't usually use. So made a few things, made a leek and mushroom risotto with parmesan cheese and pecans. Don't like risotto that much, but I ate it. Food doesn't have to taste amazing. Mum has cooked a few... wow, I'm struggling to remember what they are now. Isn't that great? I think that's really good. When I was deep in my eating disorder, I could list off everything that I've eaten, everything that my parents have eaten in a day or for the past week, because food was always on my mind, and now I just don't really care as much and I can't remember. I know that I've made enchiladas, and because that was kind of a challenge for me with all the cheese. It's also a challenge because they write the calories on the recipes, which I don't like. But I make them and I eat them anyway. Oh my gosh, what else did we have? We had a couscous roasted vegetable meal with yogurt, and Mum made fritters for another meal, chickpea kumara fritters. We've had a couple of others, but I just, it's gone from my brain. So regardless of not having much of an appetite, I'm still eating because not eating is not an option. I don't want to waste all the hard work that I've put into recovery by not eating. So what I really wanted to talk about today was the sick enough idea. Because recently I've been talking to a lot of people, checking in with friends and talking about mental health, and also just I read an article recently about how this is a hard time for people with eating disorders and that they need to know that it's okay to reach out for help. Because I think with all the pandemic stuff, it's like another reason for people with eating disorders who really do not need another reason to think that they don't deserve help because they're not sick with the virus, or they shouldn't be taking up doctors' time because people need to work on the virus and all that sort of stuff. And I remember I said in one of my earlier videos, like, we should try really hard to keep well so that there is space in hospitals for people suffering from COVID-19. But I'm also concerned that I failed to mention, I think, if you are suffering and struggling and you need help, then definitely reach out for it. Anorexia is a really serious illness. It's life-threatening, just like COVID-19 is. Support for eating disorders is an essential service. So that says it all, really. Like, there is still online counselling, and I know that my treatment team is still operating, so I've had like a phone call therapy session, which isn't the same, but it's something. Regardless of what is happening, in the world right now with the pandemic. I think we often think that we are not sick enough to deserve help. That is something that our eating disorder brain tells us. And I don't think that's just unique to anorexia or eating disorders. I listen to a lot of mental health podcasts and talk to people about mental health a lot. It seems like this is a very common theme in a lot of mental illnesses, like with depression as well. Like, oh, I'm not that bad. There are people who are worse off than me, people who need treatment more. I shouldn't use up the resources, etc. But that's just not true. You deserve help. If you are not living the life that you want to live and you need support to get to that point where you can be mentally well, and regardless of what you look like, regardless of your background, you deserve help. People want to help you. I think specifically for eating disorders, I know in my experience, I always felt like there were people worse off than me. And honestly, there still are. But that didn't make my struggles any less valid, and it doesn't make your struggles any less valid either. For a long time, I felt like I didn't really have an eating disorder because my BMI wasn't that low. I hadn't been to inpatient treatment at that time. I hadn't had intensive outpatient support either, which, to be honest, I probably needed. But that doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I feel like I was most sick when I was at a technically healthy weight. Like, you don't need to be physically emaciated or have a low BMI or anything like that to deserve help. And it's really hard because I think that a lot of people don't understand eating disorders, and even if you do work up the courage to seek treatment, sometimes people dismiss you. I don't want to talk about my bad therapy experiences, so I'm going to talk about the good ones. I had one really amazing therapist appointment when I was really struggling. This was 4 years ago. I definitely had an eating disorder. I didn't believe I had an eating disorder. I was a technically healthy weight, but I was exercising too much. I was controlling my food. I was miserable. I was depressed. I was working too much. I was skipping classes. I had one really good therapist session before I moved into public treatment system with a different therapist, and this therapist had recovered from an eating disorder herself. Out of everyone that I've seen, I think she has shown the best understanding of eating disorders, and she said to me, firstly, basically that she couldn't help me until I recognised that I had an issue and was willing to change. But I just blatantly denied that anything was wrong. She said to me that you know if you have a problem. Like, deep down, you will have a feeling, you will know that things are not right, that this is not the life that you want, or something along those lines. That really stuck with me. I think that's true. If you are watching this video, if you are wondering if you're sick enough to deserve help, if feeling this way is normal, just tell people how you're feeling. I know that's so hard, so hard, because eating disorders make us think that reaching out for help is the worst thing in the world, because then people might force us to change, and that's extremely scary. Honestly, I mean, first of all, no one can force you to change, really. And if you wanted to continue this life with an eating disorder, your eating disorder will always be there. Like, your eating disorder will stick around for that. It's not until you're willing to let it go that it's going to go away. But secondly, there is so much to gain from reaching out for help that even if you don't feel like you're struggling that much, just have a therapy session anyway. Just check in, see what's up. Like, it doesn't have to lead anywhere if it doesn't need to. I mean, honestly, I feel like most people need therapy or could use therapy anyway, because we all need to reflect on how we're feeling and all that stuff. I think there's a lot more to say on this topic, but I really mainly just want you to know, if you are struggling right now, you still need to get help. You still deserve to get help. You are not selfish. You are not a waste of resources. Regardless of what is happening with the world, pandemic or otherwise, that doesn't affect your value and that you deserve support. You don't need to be lying in a hospital bed to be deserving of help. You don't need to be below X kgs to deserve help. You don't need to have been to inpatient treatment to be sick enough for more support. If you are not living the life that you want, if you are struggling and you need support to get to a place where you feel better, then that is okay. That's all I wanted to say, really. I just hear so much from people that they don't think their struggles are valid, and that's just not the case. Your struggles are valid regardless of what is going on with other people or in the world. Okay, I was just editing this video and there are like two things that I really want to mention quickly. So, firstly, I recognise that having access to therapy and treatment options is a huge privilege. And it makes me really sad that not everyone has access to that. Unfortunately, I don't have a solution for that, but I do think reaching out to anyone, someone close to you, is better than nothing, because eating disorders definitely thrive in isolation. Secondly, I don't know why I didn't say this earlier, but anorexia and eating disorders are mental illnesses. So I don't care what it says in the DSM-5 or whatever we're up to now about like the body weight requirement for a diagnosis. It doesn't matter if you even get an official diagnosis. Eating disorders are about what's going on in your head. What might happen physically are really just symptoms of the greater problem, which is the thoughts that you're having. So even if you don't have any of the physical signs of an eating disorder, you know what thoughts you're getting. If you have the thoughts that you don't deserve to eat something, or you feel ashamed for eating, or you feel like you have to rigidly control your food or exercise a certain amount per day to enable you to eat. I mean, my eating disorder is basically just a really self-critical voice in my brain, and you know if you have that. It doesn't matter what you look like physically. Sorry, one more thing. If you do have access to therapy or treatment or something, yeah, not all therapists are that great, unfortunately, and I have had some negative experiences, but that doesn't mean that you give up, because I have also had obviously really useful therapy sessions. So the first person you see might not be the best, but there is probably someone else out there who can really help. That's all. Thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you are doing okay and coping with what's going on, and I'll record again soon. Lots of love. Bye.